Okay, ladies and gents. So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at simple interest. Simple interest, sometimes call it high, or we don't call it high purchase, but higher purchase uses simple interest. Okay, and um, we use higher purchase if we buy things like cars, um, washing machines, all kind of electrical goods. Okay, houses is a different story. Okay, so I will explain how it works. So I'm working from page 30, exercise 9. And let's start answering a question, and then we try and build a formula for it. Okay. So this chap borrowed, or let's say put saving. Okay. Interest is important. It works for saving or for borrowing. Okay. Let's say I put 6,000 rand in some kind of fund, saving account, and they give me 7.5% PA. What is PA? Per annum. Annum means year. So it gives me 7.5% every year, and I leave it there for 4 years. And the first thing I want to know is how much interest did it accumulate? So you put a certain amount, okay? Let's say that's the 4,000, okay? And then what you get at the end, you get the 4,000 back, you get the same amount, okay? But you also get another amount, okay? That amount is called the interest. Okay, you wouldn't put 4,000 in the bank and after years just get 4,000. Otherwise, why would you put it in the bank? You can just spend it now. You put it somewhere else. So you get that extra, which is interest. How do we calculate that interest? Let's just think about it logically. I know you've probably seen you've learned that formula before, but let's think about it logically first of all. So if the interest is, let's write it like this, interest equal, it will be 7.5%. Remember, wherever I said percent, I basically need to divide by 100. I multiply that by the amount I put in, 6,000 rand. Okay? That's the amount of interest I'm going to get every year. Every year. But I didn't keep it for 1 year, I kept it for 4 years. So I must multiply that by 4. Okay? Let's get the calculator. So 7.5% times 6,000 times 4, and I got 18,000. Okay? So my answer is 18,000 rand. That's the amount of interest. That's the amount of interest, the amount that it grew. Okay? Now a little remark here. If you don't feel like putting 7.5 divided by 100, you can also write in your calculator 7.5%. Use that button, the percent button. Or, personally, what I do, okay, dividing by 100 is really easy, isn't it? Okay? All you got to do is move the decimal places twice. So that's personally what I do. Wherever I see 7.5%, I write down 0.75. Okay? It's just, 0.75. And now I realize I made a mistake here because I wrote 0.75 instead of 0.075. Obviously, I need to move it twice, so I'll just redo it. So 0.075 times 6,000 times 4, and yes, I get something a bit more sensible. I got 1,800 rand. So that's your interest. But then, okay, I can ask how much money that this person will get at the end. He's not just going to get the 1,800. That would be terrible if he just got 1,800 because we put 4,000 to begin with. What? We're only going to get 1,800. How much money we will get at the end? Obviously, we will get the total money at the end, total amount after 4 years will be your interest plus the original amount. Okay? So that will be equal to 1,800 plus the 4,000. So I'm going to get 5,800 rand. That's the total amount I'm going to end up in the end. So I just wanted to do it together with you, just from common sense. But from now, we can just use these equations. And let's try and explain. Let's start with this one. A equal P plus blah, 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 blah. A is the final amount. It's the amount at the end. It's either the amount you get from saving or the amount you have to pay at the end. Okay, so we looked at an example where we save money, other example where we borrow money. Okay, so that will be the final amount. P is your initial amount. Okay, in this case, the initial amount was 4,000. I made a mistake. Okay? It should be 6,000. Keep on making mistakes. So that's 6,000. So it should be 7,800. I did use 6,000. Fine. Okay. So the final amount was, the initial amount was 6,000. The final amount was 7,800. Okay. R is your interest. Okay. I'll write it down. R is your interest rate. Should be clarified. It's the interest rate. It's the percentage. Okay. 7.5%. So 7.5 divided by 100. Okay. And your N is the number of years. Okay. Because remember we timed it by 4 years. Okay. Now I'm just going to add to this one more thing. All of this, P times R times N divided by 100 is what we call your interest. Okay, that was the 1,800. If I multiply the initial amount by the interest rate times the number of years, that's the interest. Not the interest rate. Interest rate is how much percentage per year. Interest is the amount that it's accumulated, it grew. Now, the formula that you're normally going to use is going to be not this one, it will be this one. And all we did here is we took P out. We took P as a factor. Okay, look at these. If I've got P here and I've got P here. So I can take P out, and then I'm going to have 1 plus R over 100 times N. And that's the formula we're going to use. Okay, we'll pause here. Okay, so I just want to actually do the same question, but now using this first formula. So if, let's say, I didn't want to calculate the interest. I just want to know how much money does he end up getting at the end. He put in 6,000, 4 years, 7.5%. Don't tell me the interest. I just want to know how much money I'm going to have at the end. So we're going to say, okay, A equal, what is P? P is the initial amount, 6,000 Rand times 1 plus 7.5%. I know probably a lot of you would just like to write 7.5% instead of 7.5 divided by 100. And we'll times by 4 years. Okay, and if I put that in the calculator, let's have a look. 1 times 7.5. 1. Right, and then I'm going to multiply it by 6,000, and I got 7,800. So it does work. Okay, pause again. Okay, so now I want to have a look at two questions which are a bit more complicated. The first one is to do with the deposit. Okay, so sometime we'll make it more complicated with mentioning deposit. So this chap wants to buy a car that costs 100,000. The interest rate will be 15%, and he will have to pay over 15 months. Okay, and we want to know what we want to know. We want to know the monthly payment. Monthly payment. Okay, so it's quite difficult, this one. Okay, what does a deposit mean? If I want to buy 100,000, that means I need to put a 10% deposit. I can't just borrow all the money. I need to put some cash. Okay, that's how it works mostly in real life. So first of all, we need to figure out what's the deposit. What is 10% of 100,000? I'll show you some easy numbers here. It's just 10,000 Rand. Okay. So I have to put 10,000 Rand, slap it, give it to the shop. That means the rest of the money I need to borrow. So how much money I have to borrow? Okay, I have to borrow. Okay, borrow is that P. It's what I initially borrowed. The P will be 100,000 minus 10,000, which is 90,000. So that's the amount of money that I have to borrow. Okay, now I will use this formula. Okay. I want to find out A, the amount of money that I need to pay back if I borrowed 90,000 Rand with an interest rate of 15%, okay, 15%, time, okay, now I've got a little bit of an issue, okay. Normally we write how many years, but here we work with months. Now, if the interest is per annum, which is always going to be the case in grade 9, I have to work with years. So how do I convert 50 months to years? You're right. I'll divide it by 12 because there's 12 months in the year. Okay. So now I can calculate the A. Okay. We'll put it in the calculator. Okay. So I'm going to write 1. I personally, what I do, you can do brackets and all that, but I calculate this first and then time it by 90,000. So 1 plus 0.15 times 50 divided by 12. And I got 13 divided by 8 times 90,000. And what I've got is this staggering number, 146,250. I borrowed 90,000. Remember, I had to put 10,000. The car cost 100,000. I had to put 10,000 cash. I borrowed 90,000. From the 90,000 that I borrowed, check out how much I have to pay. 146. Okay, I'm getting close to double the amount that I borrowed. That's how interest works. Okay, the interest, borrowing is not the wise thing. Unless you have to, don't do it. Okay, so that's the amount I have to pay. But is that the amount I have to pay every month? No, I want to find out how much I have to pay every month. So how do I do that? Okay, think about that. How do I know? I know I need to pay that. But how long does it take for me to pay it? Well, it's 50 months. So the monthly payments are simply going to be 146,250, and I must divide it by 50. Okay? And if I do that, I got 2,925. 2,925 rand a month, which kind of makes sense. Okay? We're going to do one more difficult question. Okay, so the final question I want to do is where we don't actually have to calculate the amount I have to that I'll get at the end or have to pay at the end. Okay, so far I was given the interest, I was given the number of years, I was given the initial amount that I borrowed, saved, and I have to calculate how much money at the end. Okay, now I'm gonna, I can ask different things. I can give you these two amounts. Okay, and the number of years, and I have to calculate the interest. That's what we're going to do now. Or I can give you the amount I saved at the end and the interest number of years, and I need to figure out how much money I borrowed in the beginning or have to put in the beginning. So there's all these questions I can ask. Let's start with this. So I put 5,000 in a saving account. After 10 years, I've got 12,000. What was the percent? So the secret here, like I tell my science students, always substitute in the equation. Look at the equation. Okay, what is A? A is the amount that you got at the end. What is it? It's 12,000. So I'm going to write 12,000. Okay, P. What is P? P is the amount, the money that you put in the beginning. So that's 5,000. 1 is just 1. R, I don't know. I don't know what R is. So I'm going to write R divided by 100. N, number of years. That's 10. Okay. And now when I wrote that, first of all, I'm going to get a mark in the test, maybe even 2 here. Now I can start processing it. So it's 12,000. I'll open it. 5,000 times 1 is 5,000 plus 10 divided by 100 is 1 over 10. So it's R over 10 times 5,000. I'll just write that like this for a second. 5,000 times R divided by 10. And then I'll just get rid of that and get rid of that. So I divide it by 10. I'll get 500R. Move the 5,000 to the other side. So 500R equal 12,000 minus 5,000 is 7,000. R equals 7,000 divided by 500. Put that in the calculator. Hopefully I didn't make a mistake. And I got 14%. 14%. Okay? So it's pretty easy, isn't it? Let's do another quick question. Okay? Let's say I know I started with a certain amount of money. I borrowed a certain amount of money. And eventually I had to, let's use small numbers. I had to pay back 1,000 rand. Okay? And I took the saving over 5 years with 7% interest. Okay? How much money did I borrow in the beginning? So again, the secret here is to just look at the equation and substitute. Okay, what is A? A is the amount of money that I paid at the end. Well, I paid 1,000, so I'm going to write 1,000, right? P is the money that I borrowed in the beginning. I don't know what it is, so I'll just leave it as a P. 1 plus R is 7%, time, number of years, 5. Okay? And again, we'll just start opening it. Okay, so 1,000 equal P plus, that's 35 divided by 100 is 0.35P. Okay, what do we do now? What is P plus 0.35P? Okay, it's going to be 1.35P. And then to find out what is the P, I'm going to divide by 1.35. So 1,000 divided by 1.35. The answer is 740 Rand and a little bit of change. Okay? So that's pretty easy, isn't it? Cheerio!